Do you want to know what happens if you put a new lens onto an old camera body? Stick around to find out. A couple of weeks ago, I was doing a live stream and I asked my audience, what would you like to see for some interesting videos? Their reaction and their answer was, put the Laowa 100mm 2x macro lens onto the Canon 400D and see what happens. This is a Canon 400D. It's a 10 megapixel 14-year-old digital SLR. This was the very first camera that I had bought me before I started my photography career. So you've probably been on forums, on websites where if you ask for suggestions for upgrading your equipment, the first thing people say is lens. Every single time. A new lens is better than a new camera body, so we're going to really test that out. And now we have the Laowa EF 100mm 2x macro lens. We're going to be putting that onto there. So let's get that set up now. So fortunately, I don't have any old macro lenses to put this against. However, we did use this camera with this lens reverse mounted on a separate video that I will link up here. You can check that out for a comparison. But now we need to set up our scene. And I'm always talking about scene. The scene is the most important thing because that's what makes your image. And I might do a dedicated video on just the importance of a scene. So let's do, so look, we're going to do a Jabroa Daisy. So that's going to go in there. I spoke about using these on my Laowa Live. They are very good as a scene for macro photography. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually use this other Jabroa Daisy. See if we can get that set up. I'm going to put the Jabroa Daisy into one of my specimen holders, which is actually just a memo clip holder from Amazon. Then we're going to put this one into this tripod specimen holder. Okay, so there we have a nice looking setup. We're going to get bungee out. Now there's a good chance that the background flare won't be in shot, but if it is, we have that as a background so you don't see just a plain wall. Again, you can always use my background cards if you want to have a seamless background. And here he comes. Okay, so we have bungee. Okay, and all I'm going to do is just place him onto the scene. So again, as usual, I'm going to wait for a couple of minutes for Bungee to calm down, settle in. Eventually you'll find a little place where he can just settle down on that flower. And again, as with all my shots, I'm aiming for a headshot with the eyes in focus. So it looks like he's settled down a bit. So let's grab our camera. So again, this is a Canon 400D. This is a 10 megapixel camera. So I'm just going to set my flashes up so it's in one spot, which is directly above where Bungee's going to be. There we go. So you can see there we have one hot spot. I'm on 1/8 para. Again, we're not going to know if that's any good. So I'm going to switch this to ETTL because with it being the 400D, ETTL should work nicely, unlike my EOS R. As for shutter speed, I'm going to go with 1/200th. And then, because it's a crop sensor, you don't want to push your f-stops up too high. So I'm going to go with an f9, ISO 100. Let's take a picture of Bungee here and just see how this lens copes on a 13-year-old camera. So I'm at 2:1, but because it's a crop sensor, you've got to take into account the crop factor. If you don't understand what I mean about the magnification and crop factor, check out this video here that explains it. So for that, I'm going to bring it down to about 1.5 and see how that looks to begin with. Okay, so as I thought, it's too close. I'm going to bring it back to about 1.25 on the lens. Okay, so he's not quite in a position that is good for a picture. Bring him forward a little bit. Okay, Bungee. Yeah, that's looking okay. There's no touch screen on the camera. It's amazing how used you get to modern technology. I've got no touch screen. I've got no focus peaking. Dynamic range is suffering a little bit because obviously it's a 13-year-old camera. I'm going to take a couple more shots. strange going from the EOS R to a 400D. You haven't got the preview of the image in the viewfinder, so you have to chimp and look at the screen. It's quite strange. There's no touch screen on the camera. It's very weird feeling. So there we go. So that is the Laowa 100mm on my 400D. So that did remarkably well for a 13-year-old camera. But what I want to do now is I want to put the same lens and flash setup onto my 80D, and I want to see how the 80D copes, because the 80D has more megapixels. It's going to have more dynamic range. It's got better low light performance, better noise performance. Again, I'm going to use the same f-stop of f9, even though I can get away with a higher one on this camera. And 1/200th of a second, which is perfectly okay in this situation. And let's get another image, but this time with the 80D, which is again an APS-C crop sensor camera. Alright, so there you go. We have the Laowa on the 400D and the Laowa on the 80D. Now obviously the 80D performs better because it's a newer camera, it's newer technology, but like the old saying says, if you're choosing between a body and a lens, go with the lens first, upgrade your body later, because you can get great images with older technology bodies like the 400D. The 80D is still a remarkable camera. This one, I'd say it's a little bit past its sell-by date now. But by all means, if you have got a camera that's a few years old, then go for a lens first. You won't be disappointed. So there you go. You asked me to do it, and I've done it. The Laowa 100mm 2x macro on the 400D body. What did you think of the images? Did you like them? Did you dislike them? Let me know in the comments below. My name is Stewart Wood, and I want to thank you for getting to the end of this project, and I will see you on the next video. Let's see what happens when we put the Laowa... Let's see what happens when you put the Laowa 100mm 2x macro lens onto an old... So a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a live stream and I asked the audience for suggestions for a better lens is better than a better new... Generally use this as a paperweight. Although it's still better than Tamron lenses. And because I'm using the old 400D, batteries are dead. Again. You used to be able to cancel that, you know. It's going to have... rattly. God damn it. Twice in one video.